I want to make this brief video just discussing the Super Bowl argument when it comes to individual players, because I saw somebody arguing that Lamar was overrated, and that's not, I'm not agreeing nor disagreeing with that, because some people do overrate him. Also, some people don't watch full Ravens games to understand that you can't just look at yard totals to determine a guy who throws the ball 20 yards a game when all his team wants to do is run the ball to run the clock out, right? And use his legs, which is undoubtedly his best attribute. But this is not what that video was about, so I'm going to do my best not to get too much into that, because I'm not gonna lie, bro, if I were to talk about Lamar, there's so much that goes into that, and so much yin and yang about Lamar's game, and that it's just like it's a tough video to make. I'm not even gonna lie, it really is. But the reason I bring that video up is because the guy's argument for Lamar being overrated is that he has no Super Bowls. So let's talk about whether or not the Super Bowl argument matters when it comes to discussing individual players. We're going to do this formal debate style. My opening statement, and please listen to what I have to say afterwards before jumping the gun, is that the Super Bowl argument matters a decent amount when just talking about quarterbacks. Not as much as most people think, but it has no value at all when discussing non-quarterback position. Not one bit does it matter when you are discussing a non-quarterback position. And there's really only one talking point to prove this, and that's that football is the ultimate team sport. And I know you're thinking like, oh, well, there's plenty of team sports out there where, it takes a whole team to win. Let's put it this way, man. And my old football coach used to say this to us in the huddle at the end of practices and stuff, and I love it because it's so true, right? You can, let's take basketball, for example. A guy can go out there and drop 40, right, and completely backpack a team to victory, right? Because at any position, you can take the game over, right? In basketball, anybody can do anything at any position, right? Theoretically, not saying that Steph Curry's going to go out there and grab every rebound or block every shot, right? It could happen, right? And especially in today's NBA, everyone really needs help, but it could it happens all the time where somebody goes out and drops 40, 50 points, right? Puts the team completely on their back in order to win games. Football is like chess, right? You have 11 pieces, right? Moving pieces that each have their own individual job, and their own individual job they cannot step out of in order to do something else to provide for their team, right? By rule too. And it's not just like, oh, that's just the way football is, supposed to be played. By rule, a lineman cannot step out of its position unless they report eligible, or literally change positions in order to catch passes, right? Or throw the ball. A wide receiver will not get under center and throw the ball. You know what I mean? And most of the time it takes all 11. Like the moment you have a vulnerability in the NFL, that will be exploited, and it'll probably cost you at least, being a Super Bowl contender or going on to win a Super Bowl. You need somebody in that position, in every position, that will at the very least, do their job 50-60% of the time. If you take any of the best quarterbacks of all time and put them on the worst roster of all time, and don't just the quarterback, that's the only player you add, they probably don't make the playoffs, my guy. A quarterback can't be good if his receivers don't catch the ball. It's hard for a quarterback to be good if his O-line doesn't protect him. Receivers can't be good if a quarterback can't get him the ball, right? An offense can't be good if the scheme is poor, right? No matter how good of pieces you are, it's very difficult. So it goes beyond, especially in the NFL, it goes beyond just player personnel, and that is a product of it being like chess. The coaches are the player, right? Looking over the chessboard, moving the pieces, right? That's why coaching is so important in the ultimate team sport. I think I saw someone saying Steve Smith was overrated in his career because he never won a Super Bowl and never won anything in Carolina. Well, first of all, he was in Carolina, all right? Bum-ass Carolina at the time. 2, doesn't Randy Moss have no Super Bowls? Am I tripping, right? He doesn't have a ring, right? Tell me I'm wrong. Hey, Siri, does Randy Moss have a Super Bowl? Come on, bro. One moment, bro. Oh my.
Although he never won a Super Bowl, Moss' record-breaking career has distinguished him as one of the best football athletes.
All right, shut your British ass up. We got our answer. He has no Super Bowl. I'm sorry if I have any British viewers, and I'm sorry for singling out Randy Moss. It was just the first person I thought of, right? But are we saying he's not a Hall of Fame player because he doesn't have a Super Bowl? Shit, there's Hall of Fame players in the NBA, right? Who's not an ultimate team sport. They don't have rings, right? It's a poor argument. But back to football, okay? For the non-quarterback players, all right, I will say it again. Ring arguments have zero value at all. Not even just minuscule value. Zero value whatsoever when it comes to arguing non-quarterback players. Let's talk about the quarterback now. There is definitely value when it comes to talking Super Bowls for the quarterback, right? Especially when we're talking about elite quarterbacks, because most of the time when you're considered an elite quarterback in the ultimate team sport, that means you probably have a good team around you. Something is enabling you to be elite. But let's look at Tom Brady, for example. When you look at all the other GOATs in every other sport, their physical attributes that are tailored to the game are the reasons why they are so good. While yes, Tom Brady is extremely clutch and extremely good at reading a defense and not making mistakes, his best quality, and don't argue this with me, all right? Just don't argue this with me. His best quality is that he took pay cuts year to year to ensure that he had a great roster with him, he deserves to be the GOAT for that. That is smart, and I can't believe that players don't do that as much, because again, we are talking about a sport so unique to what it is and what happens in it, that it's different. It's different than just getting your bag and then showing up and doing your job if you want to win. But again, flipping sides, it does hold at least some value to the quarterback position, because especially when we're talking about elite quarterbacks, because most of the time a quarterback is elite. Every time a quarterback is elite because they have a good enough team around them to win the Super Bowl, right? To be in contention. But if you were to argue Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes is going to win that argument because he's gotten it done 2 times, right? Not even just once, 2 times. I mean, obviously, Patrick Mahomes, I think, is the consensus number 1 quarterback. Numbers aside from this year, obviously, I think Tua has been statistically the best. But, I think year to year, it's tough to, power rankings are power rankings, but it's tough to take a guy off his throne when nobody's done what, he's done, as long as we still see that he's still him, and he's in his prime right now. Because guys like Burrow, Jackson, Allen, Herbert, even Rodgers, they've had chances to get it done, right? And very easily could have Super Bowls right now if, things just played out differently. Sometimes it also takes a lot of luck, and that's really in any sport. It's just really hard to win a championship. For example, Josh Allen had a perfect run in the playoffs 2 years ago, or was it 3 years ago? 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and didn't win a Super Bowl. Didn't even get there, and it wasn't his fault. He couldn't have done anything better. And while last year you could say a little bit differently, it might hold a little bit more weight on Josh Allen's legacy after the bad loss to Cincinnati in the playoffs. Still, the Super Bowl argument doesn't hold as much value to quarterbacks as people think. But nonetheless, it does still hold some value. So, going back to Lamar Jackson, if you were to say that his playoff numbers are poor as compared to a different player, that is a valid argument. Now, me personally, I would have some things to say that would dumb down that argument and make it less valuable, but I'm not going to get into that at all. And because he has underperformed in the playoffs, and when you're an MVP and you make as much money as you do, there are no excuses, no matter what the external factors are, even in the ultimate team sport. You can't take the excuses. The term of the day is ultimate team sport. That's basically the whole conclusion, the whole summary of this video. I would like to know, somebody count how many times I said that term in this video. I would very much like to know. And I'm not thinking that hard, but off the top of my head, there's no other sport that compares, right? Even baseball, everyone has their own individual jobs on defense, but everybody does essentially the same thing on offense. Now, you have certain guys that, might go up to the plate with different intentions based on their attributes, but even the pitcher could theoretically hit if he wanted to give himself run support. Shohei does it. Point being, really in any sport, even aside from the ultimate team sport, I gotta stop saying that. Team accolades don't hold as much value as a lot of people think. The eye test is what truly holds the most value. Not even numbers. The eye test is what truly holds the most value in sports. I will always say it. And, people watch football. What I've learned is that the people who watch the least usually have the most negative things to say, because, newsflash, a lot of times when a player is gassed up as much as he is by the media and by analysts, it's because he's actually that good. And fortunately, a lot of people do tune into football, but especially with basketball, a lot of the narratives, and this is a separate video that is coming. Trust me, it's well on its way. Probably even this week. A lot of the narratives that get pushed off in the NBA are just due to people not watching the sport. And the ratings show that people don't watch basketball anymore, which is sad, but it is what it is. I'm not going to force people to watch the sport. But this was a very spicy video, man. And please let me know what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you partially agree? This is why I make these videos, man. Remember, I am a casual, hence the name. And, I make these videos so that, us casuals, or if you're an expert in the matter, we can have these discussions and let's talk about it and give me some valid reasonings why I'm wrong or why I'm right. I'm sorry, British people. I'm sorry, Randy Moss. I can't emphasize that enough. I'm sorry. I really am. I really